This really quick so we can get through the middle colonies. I apologize, I wanted to get this done before, but when you're filling out that the kind of breakdown, graphic organizer of the middle colonies, we're looking at these colonies here: Pennsylvania, New York, what else do I have? Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Delaware. That's it. Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and Delaware. So the middle colony supported a flourishing export economy based on cereal crops. Now that's a really important part, and we'll talk about cereal crops, and attracted a broad range of European migrants, leading to societies with greater cultural, ethnic, and religious diversity and tolerance. What I want you to know, really overall, generally, is the middle colonies were much more diverse. Jamestown was very much economically minded. New England was much more religious minded. And the middle colonies is kind of like a nice balance between the two. It's pretty much founded, if you will, by William Penn. It was a grant given by... do I have it written down? King Charles, by King Charles II. This was a land grant that King Charles just gave to William Penn, and he established it. He actually didn't live in Pennsylvania for very long, but he kind of fell in love with it. And we're talking about 1681 is there in Pennsylvania. So this is when we're talking in this area. William Penn finds it. One thing you should know about what William Penn did, especially in Philadelphia, he set out Philadelphia and arranged it on like a grid system. So like in Fargo, how our streets go north and south and our avenues go east and west. Have you ever noticed that? He was one of the first ones to do that here in America, and many cities followed suit. And so today, if you go to Pennsylvania, the basic layout of the city was kind of started by William Penn. What also you should know is that Pennsylvania was really kind of established, it was a land grant colony, but it was established as kind of like this holy experiment. And what I want you to know is especially the Quakers. Now this is William Penn right here, this picture with this pretty burly guy, big hat on, he's got a wig on, but he was a Quaker. Now, Quakers were a group of people there were many different things. They rejected paying the Church of England taxes. So they felt like the Church of England was kind of money hungry. And so they were Anglicans. They were kind of like Puritans. They were Anglicans, but they did not want to pay the Church of England any taxes. And so they kind of came into their own colony, if you will. And so we talk about Pennsylvania especially being a holy experiment, where people who were kind of disenchanted with the Puritans, who didn't like necessarily Anglican ways, came to Pennsylvania, and they really found a lot of solace, and they found a lot of tolerance in Pennsylvania, which is why it's so much more diverse than any of the colonies. Quakers specifically, and this is what you need to know, Quakers were very religiously tolerant, and they also rejected all war. Like they said, we are not going to participate in war. You should also know that Quakers are the first, and they haven't done it yet here in 1681, but they will pretty quickly do it. Quakers rejected any form of human servitude. So they outlawed, actually, slavery in Quaker societies, and pretty much all of Pennsylvania were Quaker societies. So the Quakers were really very admirable people because of their belief in their tolerance, but not tolerance for things that were completely un-Christian-like. Oh, there. So if you've ever seen Quaker Oat cereal, does it look a little bit like William Penn? Well, that's where it comes from. And having said that, talking about Quaker Oat cereal, there's religious toleration. I just mentioned that. I can really quick touch on the middle way. The middle way is just kind of like this idea that it's a hybrid between the New England colonies and the southern colonies. Like there's some trade going on, not as much in like the New England colonies. There's a decent amount of agriculture and crops going on because they have fairly good fertile soil, especially as you get further into western New York and Pennsylvania. And so they do quite a bit of growing. And so the middle way was kind of this, they were religiously tolerant. They didn't have just an economic society. They didn't have just a religious society. And so they're more middle of the road, if you will. Lots of ethnic diversity. Catholics actually were welcome in Pennsylvania. We'll see that they had their own kind of colony. Maryland was created for Catholics, but they were very much welcomed in Pennsylvania. So if you were a Catholic, there was a bit of a problem between Lord Baltimore in Maryland and William Penn in Pennsylvania, and they couldn't ever really decide where the dividing line was. Actually, it wasn't settled until might have been after the Civil War. But anyway, so there's a lot of crossover between the two. And this last one, if you can see it, it says breadbasket colonies. So this is also an important thing to know, and you should probably put it down, I would say, in the economic part. The breadbasket colonies were important because of their economy based largely on cereal crops. And when I say cereal crops, I'm basically saying wheat. They grew a lot of wheat, probably oats as well. That helped them, and it really kind of set the tone of how they would trade, how they would interact with Native Americans, how they would have a work ethic, because being a farmer was pretty hard. But you don't allow for slavery. And so these breadbasket colonies were producing a lot of the staple crops, not tobacco or sugar or rice, but the staple crops as in, like, we call them cereal crops: wheat, barley, oats, those types of things. So that's probably as much as you need to know. Oh, one thing you should know, that a lot of, especially here, and if you know geography, you maybe understand this, but in the middle colonies, there was a ton of waterways, which allowed for, especially cereal crops, but really a lot of trade to happen in these areas because they had good access to the seas through their lakes and rivers, and their rivers that spilled into the Atlantic Ocean. So that's it. I think you should be good. We'll see you later. Bye.